We talk about housing crises like they're market failures, but in Night City the market works exactly as intended, as a machine of sorting, shaming, and silent execution. Your apartment isn't shelter, it's a verdict, a number on the scoreboard, a confession of what you had to do to stay afloat. Because here, the economy has no brakes. Speed is survival, competence is currency, and failure is a one-way lease with no renewal clause. Every apartment is a contradiction, a showroom of taste in a world with no time for it, a closet of class cosplay for people already drowning in debt. Here, ideology becomes furniture, design becomes delusion, and every square meter is an alibi, crafted to convince yourself you still matter. Some cost more than your life insurance. Some barely cost more than your dignity. But all of them reveal something about the system and about you. So before we rank them, before we joke about price or layout or amenities, ask yourself, where would you end up if Night City were real? This is where the story begins for many and ends for far more. Tucked into the industrial carcass of Northside, this unit is what passes for housing when society has priced you out of dignity. 10,000 eddies gets you a cave. If you're clever or desperate, you can even hack the leasing system and get it for free. Fitting, because this isn't housing. It's a bunker for the intellectually agile and economically discarded. The walls don't echo, they absorb. You could scream in here for hours and nothing would change, because that's what it was built for. Not comfort, not aesthetics, just containment. There's no kitchen, no guests, no view. You get a sofa, a sink, a mirror that gaslights you, and the lingering scent of someone else's unfinished story. The last tenant vanished mid-gig. You inherit his emails, his secrets, his fate. This isn't where you live. It's where you survive. A roach race machine hums in the corner like a joke the city plays on itself. A flicker of fun placed in a room that hasn't known joy in years. And yet, this is Night City's quietest social contract. Here, poverty isn't punished, it's automated. No guards, no landlords, no pretense. Just you, the walls, and the slow decay of ambition. It's the bottom of the ladder, but also a mirror. Because in a city like this, you don't climb your way out. You hack, hustle, or hallucinate your way to the top. And if you can't, you stay here, forever unpaid, unseen, and unremembered. Welcome to Mega Building H10, the official starting line for every player, and every player's illusion. You didn't choose this apartment. It was assigned to you, like a prison cell with wall art. This is where the system teaches you two things: how to clean blood off tile, and how to pretend you're still in control. Because unlike Northside, which makes no promises, H10 pretends. Pretends to be yours. Pretends you earned it. Pretends it's home. You can customize it, rearrange it, hang up souvenirs of battles fought and trauma endured. The illusion of agency is strong here. Strong enough to convince some that this is their forever home. That this cramped shoebox, stacked atop hundreds like it, is the full extent of what they deserve. And the system loves that. It loves when you decorate the bars of your cage. It loves when you collect trinkets and call them trophies. Because as long as you're busy customizing, you won't notice that nothing changes. This is the middle-class dream, Night City style. You're not starving, but you're not safe. You have some choice, but none that matter. You're free to pick your incense scent, but not the rules of the game. And unlike Kerry's villa or the Corpo Plaza suite, you won't die in debt here because you were never worth the credit risk. You're not over-leveraged, you're simply forgotten. Yet here is where love visits, where Judy or River stops by, where Johnny slouches on the sofa, murmuring sarcasm into the void. Here is where pets live, where iguanas hatch, where cats purr in laundry baskets like tiny gods of denial. It's touching and tragic, because this apartment is the perfect metaphor for Night City's greatest con, making people believe that comfort is success, that survival is the same as winning, and that the story gets better if you just stay here long enough. But it doesn't, because this isn't a home. It's a checkpoint. And if you don't move on, the only thing you'll decorate next is your grave. This is the Kress Street Hideout. No rent, no amenities, no future. A hollowed-out husk of a half-built hotel, long since abandoned by planners, planners' children, and anyone with a career. The lights don't work. The water comes only if you negotiate with rust. The mattress is stained with other people's trauma. And the generator? Built from a stolen Thornton engine and pure desperation. But it's free. Not because you earned it, because nobody else wants it. This is what happens when a city gives up on pretending it belongs to its people. There are no landlords here, no neighbors, no laws. Just noise, mildew, and rot, disguised as off-the-grid survival. It's the endpoint of the libertarian fantasy, a market with no state, no protection, and no accountability. Just ruin, recycled through a different corpse each year. And the players who live here, they call it strategic, tactical, a place to lay low. But let's be honest, if you're living in the ruins, it's not because you're smart. It's because you're broke, or broken, or pretending to be both. Night City doesn't punish the slow, it just forgets them. So you can drink from the busted sink, crash on the floor, and whisper to yourself that it's all part of some master plan. But you're not off the grid. You've been deleted from it. This is the Japantown apartment. Tucked above the glowing grid of Westbrook, it's a compact shrine to curated calm, complete with incense, soft guitar, and just enough square footage to convince you you're living intentionally. But make no mistake, this isn't peace. It's the commodification of peace. Aesthetic therapy for the anxiety-ridden middle class, sold for 30,000 eddies. The apartment doesn't offer space, it offers vibe. A manufactured sense of tranquility in a city that monetizes every breath. You light incense, not to meditate, but to mask burnout with aroma. You sip tea, not for health, but because it feels like something a stable person would do. You play the guitar not to express yourself, but to cosplay serenity. This is not spiritual. It's exported Zen, a performance of Eastern stillness packaged for Western consumption, mindfulness detangled from meaning, peace sold at markup. It's not a home, it's a self-help brochure with walls. And the player who buys this, they're not poor, but they're not rich either. They're aspirational, upwardly mobile, drowning in curated calm. This is the class that clings hardest to the illusion of control. They quote stoicism, dress like monks, and smile like they've figured it out. But they haven't. They've just gotten better at furnishing the cage. For 80,000 eddies, you get exactly what money buys in Night City. Space, glass, and the quiet echo of a life that looks good on camera. This is the real estate equivalent of a LinkedIn post. A pristine layout with nothing personal in it, because personality is risk. And this apartment was bought to minimize risk. You have your vinyl player, your billiards table, your view of Haywood from an altitude where suffering is aestheticized. But for all the amenities, you feel nothing. Because this isn't a sanctuary, it's a performance. The player who buys this believes they've made it. They think success is proof of virtue, that wealth is evidence of intelligence. But the Glen isn't a reward. It's a sedative. This is the home of a Corpo burnout, a former street kid with a rebranded past, or a merc who confused access with arrival. They don't live here, they cool down here, between meetings, murders, and mental breakdowns. In the economics of Night City, this is upper middle class, rich enough to rent an identity, too hollow to question it. You don't decorate the Glen, you pose inside it. You don't belong here, you market yourself here. And deep down, you know this. That's why the record keeps spinning, not for the music, but because silence might make you remember who you used to be. The Corpo Plaza apartment isn't just the most expensive apartment in Night City. It's the most obedient. At 110,000 eddies, you're not buying space. You're buying compliance. Security gates, receptionist nods, fingerprint recognition. Every square meter whispers, you belong here, but only as long as you play by the rules. This is Arasaka chic. Sterile, quiet, immaculate. Not a single object out of place, because every object was placed by someone else. It is the aesthetic of authority, but not your authority. Make no mistake, this is not a home. It's a performance review you sleep in. A habitat for the ideological winners of late capitalism. Not the freethinkers, not the rebels, but those who learned to play the game so well they became it. This apartment is a mirror, not a sanctuary. You sip overpriced coffee from curated glassware, light a cigarette beside handcrafted wood grain, and tell yourself this is freedom. But it isn't. It's a prison built from everything you once called success. The contradiction? You are at the top, but only in a system you no longer question. You paid for control and got a more comfortable leash. In Night City, the Corpo Plaza apartment is the final form of economic achievement. Not power, but proximity to it. A room with a view, on the 110th floor of someone else's tower. This is what money sounds like when it's ashamed of itself. Cliffside, secured, serenaded by silence. But the villa doesn't scream wealth, it whispers it, with curated restraint. The walls are soundproof. The security bots wear suits. The architecture says, I made it, but I'm not like them. This is what happens when a rocker boy sells out too soon and spends the rest of his life trying to buy back authenticity. The guitars stay on the wall. The whiskey stays unopened. The silence isn't earned, it's aesthetic. You don't grind gigs to live here. You get gifted the keys for sleeping with a celebrity. And that's the contradiction. It feels free, because someone else already paid in soul. This villa doesn't symbolize rebellion. It marks its funeral. A punk turned millionaire, handing you the illusion of freedom inside his fenced-off gallery of regrets. It's safe. It's comfortable. But only because it's far enough to pretend Night City isn't real. This isn't a home for hustlers or visionaries. It's a holding cell for the kept, those lucky enough or pretty enough to be protected by someone else's spotlight. In the language of class, this isn't luxury, it's insulation, a soundproof shelter from consequence. Because in Night City, fame isn't power, it's just another brand of immunity. This is V's penthouse. The final floor. Not bought, not earned through eddies, but granted, like a medal pinned to a dying soldier. Perched high above the city center, this penthouse isn't shelter. It's a shrine. A shrine to finality, to success, to silence. You don't live here. You arrive here. Polished concrete, angular minimalism. No clutter, no chaos, no mess. Just the illusion of control, elevated beyond consequence. The kind of space where no one bleeds, because the bleeding already happened. And that's the contradiction. This isn't a reward, it's a eulogy. A throne for a legend who has nowhere left to go. A clean corporate afterlife gifted to a merc who either sold out, burned out, or simply outlived their purpose. You can't redecorate it. You can't bring a partner here. You can't make it yours, because it never was. It's not wealth, it's legacy, as curated set dressing. A quiet, clinical endnote to a life spent clawing up Night City's chrome-plated food chain. And so the final apartment says this: if you are fast enough, brutal enough, lucky enough, you'll get a view. But don't mistake the view for freedom. This is what the city gives you when you've beaten it. A monument to your name, just in time for the credits to roll. The final view is yours. Just don't look down.